additions to the agenda? Okay, no additions. We'll go to the reading of the previous meeting's minutes.
All right. Attendance, Keaton Heller, or meeting minutes of 06/18/2025. Attendance, Keaton Heller, Brooks Zinker, Karen Dahl, Corey Schwartz, Austin Owen, and James Owen. Meeting was called to order by board member Corey Schwartz at 18:36. Financial report by Austin Owen, approved by Brooks, second by Keaton. Future meeting minutes, future meeting update, September 18th at 6:30, budget hearing meeting. President Corey Schwartz decided that we're going to certify the mill levy election. The ballot box was sealed from the election. Brooks Zinker broke the seal and removed the ballots. 57 unused ballots. Brooks and Keaton validated 57 unused ballots. One spoiled ballot. Corey validated the one spoiled ballot. 2 absentee ballots. Corey, Karen, and Keaton validated the 2 absentee ballots. 94 tallied ballots. Brooks, Karen, Keaton, and Austin validated all 94 ballots were marked yes and initialed by the poll workers. 95 names on the poll book. Brooks and Karen validated the names and address that match both books. Keaton moves to introduce the mill levy to the counties. Second by Brooks, all in favor, motion passed. Karen moves to adjourn, Brooks seconds, motion passed, adjourned at 19:13. 7:13, sorry.
Okay. Any corrections to the minutes?
I move to approve as presented. Second.
We got a motion and a second on the floor to approve the minutes. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. We move on to the financial report.
500 in checkings and 500 in savings, unless you spent any money. I didn't tell you.
Nope.
Okay.
All right. Got a motion to approve the financial report.
So moved. I'll second.
By Brooks, second by Keaton. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. All right, move on to old business. The mill levy election results. He went over those kind of on the last minutes here, but we held our. The resolution was passed on the 22nd of May 2025. And special election was held on August 5th, 2025. Total of 95 votes were cast. We had 94 yes votes, 0 no votes, and 1 spoiled ballot. And the election was certified, and all the information has been sent off to the county auditors. So I haven't heard anything back from them that there was an issue or anything, so I guess everything should be okay with that.
More or less, that's the end of that process then, as far as you know?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep, and I guess anybody have any questions on that? Okay, we'll move on to new business. We'll go over the budget. This is the same budget that we had talked about back in the beginning of August. That was submitted to the county auditor, and due to the new legislation, we had to have this meeting now to go over it again. I guess I would usually go over the budget and just go line by line on it. What you usually do.
We can, I mean, however you want to do it. So on these budgets, you usually go on this page 2 first, and then finish it on page 1 is how I always top it. So this is for the Gackle ambulance service. We did, you want me to talk?
Yeah, go ahead.
Be good with it? So this is 2024 actual revenue and actual expenditures. So these are the line items that I plugged into each of those categories. Most of the categories applied. I think there's a little bit of miscellaneous that I had to put in there. And then I did estimated revenues for 2025. with the primary revenues, and then, estimations. Those are always interesting, but like for 2025, just trying to charges for service, we just try to estimate how many ambulance calls we'll get. We only get paid a certain percentage of all the calls and a certain percentage of what we bill. So it's, if we have 100, say 80 calls, we're only gonna probably get paid for 50, 60 of them, and then out of those, we'll get a percentage paid. So if it's a $1,200 bill, we might get 800 depending on insurance, Medicare, Medicaid, private pay. So these are estimates here. We did get a state grant. It was reduced in 2025. They based that on runs, and because of the COVID year and then the year following, we set a record number of runs. We had 117 runs that year, where our average runs previously we were running around 50, and so we got more revenue in 23 and 24 because we had a higher run count those previous years. There was a reduced amount of revenue because we had less runs in 2025. So I'm estimating for 2026 it would be similar to what we get for 2025. And then the prior in 24 and then 25, the general property taxes, we received some tax revenue from Logan County, Kidder County, and Lemoore County. And then we got a little bit out of general fund from Stutzman County. So I usually leave the estimated revenue for tax revenue blank on that. And then expenditures, one of the largest expenditures we have right now is staffing. And so what we're doing for staffing, so you guys, I think I mentioned this before, but we are paying a full-time EMT to stay on call majority of the time, Clinton in town. And then the other on-call time is filled in with other staff for the EMT position. We have, we have a full 24-hour, 7-day-a-week schedule that we have to cover with drivers, CPR drivers, and EMTs. We just had to have the wages up high enough to get people to help because we were really, really struggling. The only thing, and if you have any questions, I'm more than happy to answer. The only thing that I have not included in this budget for 2026 is that we do need to upgrade our ambulance rig in the near future. I did not include it in this budget. We are allowed to do transfers in and out of accounts, so we can, in 2026, we can actually start a budget for the ambulance, a fund for the ambulance, and then transfer funds in there. We do have some savings and CDs and stuff, but so for next year, I think this budget, I can work with the tax board, and then I know Keaton, you're doing it for the fire department now, so we can work on that. The biggest item that we're missing here would be, my proposal, and this is a preliminary budget, and then you as a tax district have to make a decision to either accept it or amend it tonight, but then it needs to be finalized for approval for Stutzman County, sent to the auditor up there. But I left the ambulance out of it this year, but we could add it in the budget if you felt for this year. I wanted to kind of get our financials stabilized with the new tax revenue first in 26, and then we could look at and try to locate a rig in 26 and then either procure it later on in 26 or 27. I mean, one option that we talked to is we could get a loan on the rig and then make payments on it over the next few years, as long as we know we have, good revenue coming in. Our revenue side, up until the last couple of years, we've had a balanced budget where it's been, we might show a $5,000 profit for the year, or, it's been nip and tuck, but now with the higher expenditure for personnel staffing, we're showing, a shortfall each year, which we knew that was going to happen with paying higher wages. So, any questions so far of what I presented?
Well, I guess I just go to the taxable valuation on the front sheet. It's down, it's 12 million even. Do we know, is that a fairly accurate figure for the?
That's gonna be up to the tax auditor to finalize that. So a couple things is, one, we had to get the tax evaluation numbers for our grant application from the state of North Dakota that we usually get. So they want to know what the taxable valuation was, and so Corey already had the taxable valuations when we were gonna do this with Stutzman County. We were actually getting ready to pull the trigger, and then I think we got some final numbers for this. And so these are approximate, and it will be up to the auditor to complete it. This is an Excel spreadsheet that, an Excel file that I originally got from the Logan County auditor, and then the Stutzman County auditor said that she is also using this because it's coming from the state. It's wonderful because I used to have to manually do this, and it calculates everything out. So, yeah, mill levies, that's approximate, but it will be adjusted. Auditor will be making the final adjustments on that.
Well, the reason I asked James is because it shows that we have property taxes that were brought into the service of 39,000. If I calculated correctly, a $12 million valuation at 15 mills would show us receiving $180,000 of property tax in 2026. Total, so it'd be like an increase of 140,000. Does that sound?
It seems a little high because, you know, well, I guess we'll have to see what they come up with, because on this worksheet here, it comes up with 20 mills. Let's see what, I'm not, it could be.
Okay.
And so I would say, you know, it's up to the auditor to make a final appropriation on this based upon our budget. And I would say if we do have a large amount of revenue coming in from the mills, and maybe we pull the trigger on the rig sooner, you know, in 26, and then reevaluate our budget request for 27, you know. I mean, the thing is, even if the mills are, you know, even if the tax evaluation is at that level, there's a certain amount of mills we don't get collected because people aren't paying their property taxes too, so that's usually an issue going on, so. And if we need to adjust anything down, we certainly can. I mean, I think for 26, we can justify the need, and then going forward, we'd have to evaluate. I think the biggest expense we need, we have all the equipment, we have 2 rigs, but the concerning thing is a little bit of, you know, the current rig we have is a 2002 model. Miles are, you know what the miles are on the engine?
Over 100,000.
So 100, I mean, it's not bad, but we've had some issues with it. We have another rig in Streeter, and so looking at updating the rig, you know, ambulance rigs can be extremely expensive. Kind of like farm machinery, they're stupid expensive. So, you know, we could be spending 150 to 350,000 or more if we really wanted to. We really don't want to. We want to be good stewards with the revenue we have. You know, we want a good sized rig. We don't want a small one. We want a good sized one because, you know, this is a really nice size. I know Jamestown's had some smaller rigs, and then you get too many, you know, get a few people in there, it's really crowded. So, equipment wise, that's our biggest need in the near future. Fire department, you know, is paid for the building. They're not charging rent, so there's no issues with the ambulance on that. They're taking care of utilities. Equipment wise, you know, we're doing pretty good. We want to, I mean, medical equipment is extremely expensive too. A cardiac monitor can be nuts, probably 30 grand or better.
Yeah, the last one was over 35.
35.
For what, I'm sorry?
For the monitor,
Oh,
the ECG monitor for the patients.
that's that mobile one?
Yep.
Yeah, with the cot, we have a power cot, power load, and that monitor. We probably have close to 100 grand in equipment in that rig, you know, 80 at least, so that can add up extremely quick.
And then there will be, with Clint taking his paramedic class, once he becomes a paramedic, there'll be a higher expenditure on equipment that we need to have there as well for being able to run ALS from there, like intubation stuff. There'll be, I guess, lock boxes for meds and stuff like that.
Can that all be done with this unit, this ambulance?
Yep, this
Yeah.
ambulance, yep.
Yeah.
Because I'm sure, he'll be done with his medic class before, obviously, we would have a new rig anyway. So, yeah, it all has to be done. As soon as he passes and we talk to the medical director and then find out if the protocols we currently have, they do have ALS protocol in there as well. If he's okay with those, if he's fine with those, then we're good to go with that. We just have to then stock our rig as ALS capable, which, yeah, is a lot of advanced equipment that, as a BLS rig you don't have, so.
As far as an ambulance, did you guys ever, I know we discussed an approximate, or looking into a quote, but did we ever get a general ballpark idea of what we'd be looking at?
We haven't gotten any firm quotes. We looked at quite a few different rigs. We looked at used ones, but then we haven't gotten anything firm as of yet.
Yeah, a lot of that depends too on, I guess, what's available for a time frame. Because I mean, you're looking at ordering one, they'll give you a quote on something, but then depending how long it takes them to build it, obviously prices are going to go up. So it's more of an estimate, I think, than a quote that they're actually going to firm give you a price. And then it depends on how you're going to set it up and what you're going to need with it. And then what do we do with the rig, this current rig here? Do we, sell the older one that we have there, our backup, and then put this one over there in Streeter, so we still have the two, so if it's needed, or if it's needed, we have that option. Because if that's the case, then there's a lot of or some of the equipment that's in this thing will stay in this one, obviously. And then, because the thing is having, depending on who you have on staff, the power load and the power cot are huge help, because depending like who is actually going to come on the call or who's around able to come on the call, sometimes we'll have, a couple of people who can't lift the cot with somebody on it. Yeah, the power load and power, cot are extremely helpful in that aspect. Plus it's helping, crew members from hurting their backs and everything else. It's kind of the thing is to help protect the crew, because if you lose crew, then you don't have a service.
Just doing a search here. This is with Aero Ambulances. They're quoting a Type 3 starting at 174.9, Type 1 249.9, and then a heavy duty 274.9. So I mean,
And that's base model, because we looked it up, like you have the power step for the side door, that's another 10 grand, there's all this stuff this rig has that we have to put back on there that just keeps stacking it up.
yeah.
Does it come from out of state then? Like, say you ordered one? Are they built in, how long does it take to, say you order a new one, how long is it gonna take to get?
I guess it depends on how many orders they have currently for what they're already building. And it could be 6 months or better.
I'd say 6 months.
At least turnaround. I think the bigger companies are more in the south too, so one of us or two of us would have to go and get it. So.
On the mill levy, you were saying how much you thought it was gonna be?
Well, so if you take, this is how I figure for the district, fire district, but if you take 12 million times 15 mils, which would be 0.015.
Times 0.015?
Yep, that would be 15 mils,
180.
so 180,000.
So there are a couple things that I could do. We could reduce the amount we wanted to request this fiscal year, or else keep it as a budget and then just go after getting that rig in 26, and then seeing if we need, if we don't need a high revenue in 27 or 28, then reduce it back down. I think our needs high enough to maybe justify the budget for this year, but I mean,
I mean,
Is that what you guys-
yeah, I mean, it's kind of difficult because we're in the transition.
the transition.
It's really tough to project where the needs are gonna be.
Yeah,
But I think, yeah, I mean, you need a good ambulance and you need a good squad. And fortunately, we have the revenue coming in now to address some of that.
yeah.
As far as like, personnel and staffing, I see it raises about 10,000 per year. Is that due to new staffing coming on, or is that for raises?
Just budget in strong on expenses and usually go a little bit lighter on revenues. You know, there could be raises, but just trying to justify. I know one time when I filled the budget out here, I think the Logan County auditor said, well, you need to work your numbers better because you're not gonna get the mills that you qualify for, so. Steve Pettig had from the Napoleon ambulance, gone through with me doing a budget. These are just estimations to give us some room for revenue, not necessarily firm numbers. So like education line, I did go down in, so 24 is a little higher because we're paying for paramedic class right now, and 25, and then, there's some expense yet with that, and other EMTs. We have another EMT taking a class right now. And so 26, I went down on that one. Most of the items are probably going up, but, I try to be reasonable with the increase on them too. But yeah, there's we talked to the possibility, once we get a paramedic, if he should be paid at a little higher rate possibly, or the other thing is if we have to pay for an outside EMT to come in here to staff, and that's gonna cost more than a regular local too, so. And I got the Excel spreadsheet on there, so we can always adjust any numbers that the board feels that needs to be adjusted. Because when I submitted this, is just preliminary, and so any changes can be made on the budget at any time prior to it being finally approved. You guys have any other questions on the numbers? You guys want to adjust any numbers you thinking, or what are you guys' thoughts on that?
Could you explain what intercept is?
The what one?
Intercept.
Yeah, absolutely. So if the Gackle ambulance is a basic life support unit, we're licensed in the state of North Dakota. And so if we have a very critically ill patient, we may need to have a paramedic help. And so then we would go and call Jamestown Ambulance, and they would intercept with us. And so they would usually, a paramedic would jump in the rig with our crew and then treat that individual, but we have to pay for those services.
Yeah.
So, and that was a very good question too. So we're hoping, and this, it may take a bit to get up to speed on it, is our paramedic that's going through the class right now. Once we have him on board, when he's on call, we wouldn't have to have intercept. It could be a reduction in intercept. There's still maybe times, if we have an EMT on call and they need to intercept, that will still happen, but the paramedic would have more skills available to treat patients. So that hopefully long-term will reduce our cost and expense on patient treatment. Because what happens is we get an intercept, they give us a bill, and then we bill bill the patient, and then we have to split whatever revenue we get in half with them. So our revenue's down, our expenses up. So
How often are intercepts done? I mean, out of,
I'd have to look at the number. Actually, I'll have to get you guys
That's
run reports next time. I would say, I don't know, what, 20-30%, depends on the year.
That's a big hit financially.
Oh, it can be crazy.
And then it kind of depends too, if less intercepts, but if you're, you know, needing to pay a paramedic a little higher wage, it might end up evening out. You're saving on intercepts, but then again, if you're able to bill for ALS care, you're probably able to bill a little bit more, a little higher. Insurance might pay more, so. It might honestly end up being a wash, depending.
Yeah, well, not to mention the benefit to the public.
Right. Because yeah, you're not gonna bill for ALS if it's a BLS call.
Okay.
So this person that's on staff, they're an EMT and they're training to be a paramedic? Or
Yeah.
they already are?
He's in paramedic training, he's already EMT, so that's Clinton
Okay.
Lunderud, and he is covering majority of the on-call time right now. So he was a former paramedic in Minneapolis, St. Paul for many years and a fireman.
Okay.
And so he's very experienced, but he let his paramedic lapse. But he wants to stay in the community and serve the community, so he's gonna be a good asset in the community. Because we don't have a clinic anymore.
Yeah.
We don't, our medical care out here is starting to get questionable. Another other thing that we are starting to run into is Jamestown is not able to provide ALS capabilities with Intercept 24/7 anymore. They're having a staffing shortage. So if we don't have Intercept with them, we have to figure out alternatives. So having Clint have his paramedic is going to be very valuable. And so in the financials too, guys, if you want me to leave the room, you guys talk without me here. I can, if you want to discuss without me, I'm more than happy to exit the room.
Do you feel the personnel amount you have down budgeted for personnel and staffing is sufficient to keep our ambulance functioning for foreseeable future?
I'm confident with that. Yep, so the 2024 actual expenditures and then 25 are estimated. That can fluctuate too, because one thing that happens is if we have an ambulance call and we have crew that goes on the call, they get paid for being on call, and then they also get paid when they have an ambulance call. So if there's a bad call and we need more crew in there, they get paid, if they're in there, they're getting paid. So, but these are just looking at the historical data. This should be plenty to keep staffing it like we are.
So I guess, Corey, my question is, we don't have the increase in property taxes on this budget. And therefore, we are more or less budgeting our expenses based on traditionally how much income we've had.
Mm-hmm.
So if we budget for this amount without this increase, potentially we could, due to property taxes, we could bring in an additional $141,000 of revenue. But if we aren't showing the necessary expenditures, they probably won't be giving us the extra funds.
Right.
So,
We have to justify.
well, that's what I'm saying. Do we need to increase, as far as purchasing equipment or vehicle at this, or at least have a plan to do so down the road so that we can collect
Right.
the extra funds?
Well, with this fiscal year, or this budget that we currently have, we should get the full 15 mils for 26.
We should.
Yep, because so basically, on the second page, guys, on the top where it says estimated revenue, there's no general property taxes included like you mentioned. And so when you turn over to page 1, because of that lack, it shows line item number 9 would be a total amount levied, would be $240,000, and that would be the estimated mills of 20 mills. Well,
Sure.
we won't get that.
Sure.
they're, based upon the current budget, it's showing that, yeah, we could qualify for the full 15 mils.
Do they first start in January of next year, or will we get some of those mill levies? The increase, do we get some of that this year?
No, it'll start January 1st.
January.
So I don't think we need to go increase it more than this year. And I think once we get the tax revenue in and we create the budget for 27, then we can look at, okay, how much revenue do we get from taxes? Because the majority of the tax revenue we get in the first quarter of the year, majority of it, and then after that, then some trickles in throughout the rest of the year. And then at that point, we can say, okay, this is how much revenue we got. This is a ambulance that we identified that we want to purchase. And so, with this budget, we wouldn't have enough to pay for it outright, which is fine. And then at that time, the tax district board would have to say, okay, do we want to, pay for this thing outright, or are we going to get a loan over 2 years or 3 years? And then at that point, when we make our budget for 27, then we can adjust our budget more appropriately. We may, if there's enough revenue coming in, we may not need the full 15 mils in 2 or 3 years. We might be at 10 mils. But the only thing is, at that point, I think the Century Code will limit the request per year increase to 3%, I believe, which is
It's already in effect,
yeah. So if we go down, which is fine, I mean, we only need to take what we justify and actually need. But if we need to go back up, it's going to be limited to 3% per year. But, and there's another, I mean, we can build up funds too, so we can get another rig, and then we can start putting money away towards another rig to start that process. Because, these rigs should last 5 to 10 years without a problem. We made this one last a long time, but, something that we should have a discussion on every year, what is our budget, what are our needs, so.
And unfortunate thing too is updating is going to be a good thing, but a lot of the newer vehicles now, especially, they have so many problems with just the electronic stuff in there and just lower quality of parts being made, everything ever since COVID, when a lot of stuff shut down. They just kind of went to the lowest bidder, whoever can make it, because a lot of things just closed. And now that's why everybody has so many issues with brand new vehicles at 10, 15, 20,000 miles, losing engines, transmissions, and they don't have any parts. There's nothing they can do to fix it. So you have a brand new vehicle you're making payments on that's just sitting dead at a dealership. So that's another, I guess, unfortunate thing that we have to worry about as well. So we need to make sure we have a plan in case something like that does happen, that we have, the ability to still service the community.
Would you try to sell one of the rigs?
Right, that would be the plan, yes.
Figure out which is the best option.
Yep. Yeah, because this rig that we have here is a 4-wheel drive rig. So we have that capability, especially around here going out rural. Having a 4-wheel drive is definitely a benefit. It's a little higher ground clearance on this one. The other one that we have in Streeter is a 2-wheel drive, a lot lower ground clearance. They'll still get around, you just gotta drive them a little different, but.
The other thought too is with our second rig we got in Streeter right now, we have that there for a backup, or, a backup if this rig goes down, or else if we have 2 calls at once or more than, multiple people that are needing an ambulance, so we can roll 2 rigs if we have enough crew. Now right now the Streeter Fire Department's been generous to allow us to put our rig in their fire department right now for about $100 a month, or a year, or $200 a year.
120 a year.
But it's
$10 a month.
It's kind of inconvenienced them because there's no room to walk in there now because they parked that in there. So if they have a fire call, the ambulance is right in front of that.
Yeah.
So one consideration, which is the lower priority, but a consideration is, do we put up a small building in Streeter to house a rig, ambulance rig? The thing is, it's not needed very often, but ideally is if we had enough crew someday to have they're technically a licensed substation over there, and so for the legality side of things, we are not required to staff that rig 24/7. So if we have staff, fine. If we don't, fine. It's pretty rare that we have more than one call, but it does happen. I should probably knock on some wood or something here.
Same night.
Yeah, not say the Q word.
Yeah, because it happened recently, a couple different times in the past couple months here, so.
So one proposal would be that we talked about a little bit is, do we put up a building in Streeter someday? And I think long-term goal, that would be appropriate. Because the thing is, ironically, when we got that rig, we bought that from Edgeley Ambulance. He was hounding me for like a year or two on it, and then finally said, yeah, let's get it. We bought it, and this rig went down. Like it was a miracle that we had that other rig. So having that second rig has been really important. So the building, a guy wouldn't really need anything extravagant over there. You just basically need one garage stall and maybe an office area, and that's it. Just something real small. So that could be something we think about down the road, as a possibility.
Okay, James?
Anybody have any other questions on the budget or any adjustments we want to make?
I would move to approve the budget as presented.
Okay, we have a motion to approve the budget. Do we have a second?
Second.
All right, that's been moved and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries.